today's lecture going on structure of gynoecium. Now before start this topic, we have already discussed about the typical flower. In that we have already studied about the non-essential and essential wholes, that is the androecium. Means in the last lecture we already discussed and studied about the male reproductive organ, that is the androecium. Now today's lectures going on, that is the next essential whorls of the flower, that is the gynoecium. Gynoecium is nothing but the female reproductive of the flower. It is the innermost fourth whorls of the flower, and it is very important for the pollination and sexual reproductions. Actually, gynoecium is a Greek word, and gyne means that is the female sex organs. It is an essential and reproductive wholes. The gynoecium is composed of or consists of one or more functional units called carpel or pistil. Means the single member of the gynoecium is called carpel or pistil. Now see these slides. This shows the different parts of the carpels or the gynoecium. So gynoecium is composed or consists or divided into three main parts. That is ovary, which is a basal oval structure which is present at the base. Then above this the long elongated structures, that is known as the style, and at the apical portion or the tip region of the style there is a different shape and the sizes of the stigma is present. The different flowers having the different shape and the size of the style and stigma. The another term also this carpel or gynoecium is what? Pistil, which is used for this gynoeciums. The typical carpel shows three main parts. The basal ovary. This ovary consists of maybe few or numerous the ovules, and the long elongated, that is the middle part, that is the style, and apical region is what? That is the stigma is present. The ovary is the lowermost part of a carpel. It is attached to the thalamus and has one to many chambers. In each chamber, one to many ovules are present. In each ovule, a megaspore is present. Therefore, the ovule is a megasporangium. In the next part, that is the style, which is long elongated structure above the ovary. Carpel shows long or short stalk, that is the style. The style is passage for male gametes from stigma to ovule. The terminal expanded end of the style is the stigma. The surface of the stigma is sticky due to sugary substances, and with the help of these sugary substances, the deposition of the mature pollen grains during the pollination process. When the carpel bears the sterile ovules or shows the incomplete development, or it is in a reduced form, the pistil is called pistiloid. Means if the pistil bears the some sterile means the non-essential ovules, non-functional ovules if produced by this carpel, so that term known as what? Pistiloids. Generally such pistiloid can be observed in the male flower. Then the gynoecium is made up of one or more carpels. When it is made up of only one carpel, it is called a simple monocarpellary. Means on the basis of the number of carpels in the different flower. So on the basis of the number of carpels which is found in the different flowers, that is the types of carpel. So on the basis of the numbers, they can classify or divided into simple pistil. Those flower with only one carpel, that flower is known as what? The monocarpellary. Then if that flower with more than two carpels, that called what? Compound pistil. Means on the basis of one to many carpels present in a different flower. So on the basis of these characteristics, these carpels classify into monocarpellary ovary and compound pistil. In the compound pistil, maybe that carpels or the gynoecium free or united, means some flowers having the free carpel conditions and some flowers shows the fused carpel conditions. If the some flowers with the free carpels is present in that specific flower, that condition known as apocarpous conditions. Apo means what? Free, means those flowers with a free carpels, such a condition known as apocarpous condition. And if the fused carpels are present, that condition known as syncarpous conditions. So in case of the apocarpous also, maybe apo means what? Free. So whatever the free carpels present in the different flower with maybe one to many carpels, if that flowers with the two carpels, such a flower known as bicarpellary flower. If it has three carpels, that is known as tricarpellary. And if the some flowers having the many carpels, that condition known as polycarpellary ovary. The best example of the polycarpellary is the in the mango plants, or in also the custard apple, they shows the numerous carpels. So that condition is what? Polycarpellary. Then in case of the compound pistil, which has the syncarpous conditions, okay, fuse means some flowers with the fused carpels. So in that, maybe the best example is the Solanaceae in the brinjal plants, or maybe in the Ocimum. Then the member of the Liliaceae, the member of the Euphorbiaceae family, and in also in the Malvaceae, means in the China rose also this syncarpous conditions are found. Okay, so this is about the types of the carpels. Now the next point which is related with, that is the about their functions, but before the function we will discuss some details point about the parts of the gynoecium. In that, the stigma, the source stigma is the sticky portions at the distal end of the tubular structure, so that is called style. It is a primary receptive site where the pollen grains are captured. Then the long elongated structure, that is the passage of or a carrier of the two haploid male gametes for the fertilization process, or reach to the ovule. So style is the major structure that aids in the processes of the fertilization process. Then the pollen tube reaches the ovary via this tubular style. Thus it directs the transport the generative nuclei and help them reach the ovary. Then the ovary is the basal or the solan portion, which is located at the solan base of the carpels. Then style is elongated tube that links the ovary and the stigma. The ovary produces the ovules which are present within the chamber known as locules. Based on the number of the locules, the ovary can also classify as multilocular, unilocular and bilocular. Then the stigma, ovary and style are together termed as the pistil. A pistil is considered to be a collection of one or more carpels. Also there can be one or more separate pistils in a gynoecium, that is means apocarpus and the syncarpus conditions. Now in a next slide, that is the presentations. So before start this, we will discuss about the function of this carpels. So what is the essential or the important role in fertilization process of this carpels? So in that the first functions, so in the form of the basic unit of gynoecium walls, the carpel is essential for the sexual reproduction process in the plants. Carpel consists of stigma, style and ovary. Out of these three, ovary develops into fruit, means the ripened ovary get converted into the fruit and the dried ovules get converted into the seeds, while the stigma and style are essential for fertilization process to carry the male gametes up to female gametes in the ovary. Then the second functions of this carpel, which consist of stigma, the basal part of the carpel, ovary contain ovules. These ovules after the fertilization develop in the seeds, as seeds are very important structure for the preparations of the next or the new the species. So the carpel is a very important structure as it help in seed production process. Now the next points regarding the placentation. So first we will discuss about the definition of this placentation. So what do you mean by placentation? So placentation is nothing but arrangement of ovules in the ovary is called placentation, or attachment of ovules in the ovary chamber. Okay, such a process or such a arrangement of ovules or attachment of ovules to the placenta, that is known as what? Placentation. So there are 5 types of placentations: the number of ovules and the manners of or position or the distribution or arrangement of placenta within the ovary is called placentation. The study of placentation is very much important for the study of flowers and the fruits, because of depending on the distribution and the mode or the pattern of arrangement of placentae within the ovary, this placentation is classified or divided into 5 different types. So there are 5 types of the placentation, which is based on the position of the or attachment of the ovule to placenta. So in that the first one is, that is the parietal placentation. So in case of this placentation, the ovules developed on the inner wall of the ovary or on the peripheral parts The best example is what? Cucurbita. In this cucurbita, if we have take the transverse section of this fruit, then shows the such type of the parietal placentation. So in that the ovule is attached to the placenta on the peripheral part of the inner wall of the ovary, that is known as parietal placentation. Then the next placentation, that is the axial placentation. So when the placenta is axial or around an axis and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular fashion, then it is called axial placentation. And in case of the China rose, म्हणजे जास्वंद, जर जास्वंदाचा आपण ओव्हरीचा ट्रान्सफर सेक्शन घेतला and then observe under the microscope, then they shows the axial placentation in the China rose. Okay, means the placenta is attached at the axial or around an axis, okay, in a multilocular fashion. So the such type of the placentation known as axial placentation. The next placentation type is basal placentation, when one or few ovules developed at the base of a simple or compound ovary. Means the ovules attached to the placenta at the basal region of the ovary chamber or ovary wall. Such type of placentation known as basal placentations, and the example is the it's a very common example of this type of placentation, that is the tomato. If we have take the again the transverse section of the ovary of tomato, then this shows the such type of the placentation, all the ovules attached at the base. Then next is the free central placentation. Free central means here the ovules are born on the central axis and septa are absent. Septa are absent. Such type of placentation is known as free central placentation, means all the ovules are attached at the central. So such type of placentation is nothing but what? That is the free central placentation. Now the next, the best example of free central placentation, that is the dianthus. In the dianthus they shows the free central placentation, and in these placentations the polycarpillary syncarpous multilocular ovary. If the septa from the folding of the carpel get dissolved, the ovary becomes unilocular. In such a case of placenta develops only from the central axis without involving any part of the carpel. That is the free central placentation. Now the next placentation is the marginal placentation. So in these placentations the ovules are arranged in a two rows on the margins of the ovary. And the best example is the pea plant. In this plant, do you know Vatana, Futana, Shengdana? In this are all the leguminaceae members, or all the plants which includes the leguminaceae or Fabaceae family, and they produce the pods or legumes. So all the legumes or the pods having such type of the placentation, means all the ovules attached at the margin of the ovary wall. Such type of, that is the marginal placentations. So this type is made with the members of natural order, that is the Fabaceae or also Caesalpinaceae, means in which the ovary is simple and monocarpillary. The placenta develops along with ventral sutures only. So in this marginal placentation the ovules attach at the margin, and the best example is the member of the Leguminaceae. So this is about the placentations and their types. Now see this diagram of the different placentations. So in that, the first diagram which regards with the axial placentation, in this all the ovules attached at the axis of the ovary wall or locules. So that is the axial placentation. In the second diagram, that is the marginal placentations, and example is a pea. In this diagram the clearly or distinct ovules which attached at the margin of the ovary wall. Then the third diagram which shows the parietal placentations. Then the next is a precentral placentation. It has all the ovules which is at the center or attached with the placenta at the center, that is the precentral placentation. And the last diagram which shows the basal placentations, means in that mono to polycarpillary ovaries, which is ovules attached to the placenta at the basal of the ovary wall, that is known as basal placentations. So this is about the overall the structure of the gynoecium. There are three types, there are functions and the types of the gynoecium and the placentations. So the next terminology which is regards with the position of the ovary in the flower. So on the basis of the position of the ovary in the flower, they classified hypogynous, epigynous and perigynous. Means in the flower, ovary may be present above the another floral valves, that may be calyx, corolla, androecium, and some flowers having the gynoecium at the below and all the floral valves which is present above the ovary, and some flower shows the position of maybe half in conditions of the gynoecium which is present at the center of the other floral valves, that is the calyx, corolla and androeciums. So in that the first position of the flowers gynoecium in the flower, that is the hypogynous conditions. It is also the Greek word. Hypo means below, gyne means what? That is the gynoecium or the carpel or the pistil. So such a flowers which have ovary which is present below and all the other floral valves, calyx, corolla and androecium which is present above the ovary, and such ovary which is present below, means the superposition, and it shows the at the top of the conditions. Such a type of position of the flower gynoecium is called hypogynous, means based on the position of the androecium, calyx and corolla with respect to the ovary. A flower can be classified into three main parts, that is the hypogynous, epigynous and perigynous. So in the hypogynous, floral cup is absent. Petals, sepals and the stamens adhere to the receptacle below the gynoecium. This means that the gynoecium occupy the highest position or superposition or the top positions, and other parts present below. It is the typical arrangement seen in most of the flower. So these flowers are referred to as the ones with superior ovary, means in this type of conditions, those flowers having the hypo conditions of the gynoecium, so such a ovary is a superior or the topmost position, and all other flowers which is present below the ovary. So the best example of hypogynous is the China rose, जास्वंद. जास्वंदामध्ये ओव्हरी ही सुपेरियर असते, सुपर पोझिशनला असते, टॉप पोझिशनला असते, म्हणून त्याला हायपोगायनस म्हणायचं. देन अनदर एक्झाम्पल इज व्हॉट, दॅट इज अ मस्टर्ड अँड ऑल्सो ब्रिंजल flower. The next condition is epigynous condition, EPI. EP means what? That is the above. Means here the petals, sepals and stamens adhere to the floral cup which is present at the top of the ovary. The margin of the thalamus project upwards and completely enclose the ovary and fused with it. The other floral parts, calyx, corolla and androecium, which arise above the ovary. Okay, these flowers are often referred to as the ones with the that ovary is the inferior ovary. And a best example of this epigynous is the guava and the cucumber. In this plant, in this flower, the ovary is the inferior in conditions, that is known as epigynous conditions, which shows in the guava and the cucumber plants. Then the next and the last terminology, that is the perigynous. So peris means what? 50-50, means the gynoecium is present at the center, means carpel or pistil which is present at the center, while other floral valves, calyx, corolla and androecium, these parts are located on the ends of the thalamus at almost the same level. At almost the same level. Here the floral cup is free from the gynoecium or partially connected with the gynoeciums. Also they are often referred to as the ones with the half inferior ovaries, and the best example which is very common and very popular flowers which shows the perigynous condition, that is the rose, then plum and the peach plants, which shows the perigynous conditions. Means in these conditions not only means at the center of the gynoecium, the calyx, corolla and androecium which is present at the center of this gynoecium, and such a condition known as what? Perigynous condition. Now this is about the, that is the position of the carpels in the different flowers. Then they shows the hypogynous condition, epigynous condition and perigynous conditions. Okay. So now we will stop here. Thank you.